This happened last New Year's Eve. I had just moved to a small town called Millfield. I was trying to find some peace after a messy breakup. I thought living alone would help. My cottage was a bit run down, but I liked it. It felt cozy, even though the town had a strange mood. As night fell, I set up some decorations. It seemed like a nice way to celebrate the new year quietly. Then I saw blinking lights from the empty house next door. I wondered if someone finally moved in, but I hadn't seen any move-in trucks. I thought maybe it was my imagination. I put my phone down when my friends invited me out. Around 10 p.m., I heard muffled laughter. It mixed with distant fireworks. I crept to the window to peek outside. I saw shadowy figures too close to my door. They looked familiar, but I couldn't remember where I had seen them. My heart raced. Who were they? Nobody should be there. I turned away, but the laughter continued. It sent chills down my spine. I felt cold inside, like something was off. I tried to convince myself I was just paranoid, but a nagging fear wouldn't leave. I took a deep breath and looked outside again, hoping for some clarity. The figures were still there. They whispered and giggled. I felt trapped in my own home. I picked up my phone, ready to call someone, but my battery died. That felt too coincidental. The laughter grew louder, and I thought maybe I was overthinking it. Small towns might celebrate differently. I wanted to ignore my gut feeling, but I couldn't shake the unease. I considered opening the door. I felt like something was pulling me toward it, even though I was terrified. I saw the familiar faces again, lurking just out of view. Maybe I was just tired or stressed, but then one of them turned. Their eyes found mine. A chill shot through me. I wanted to shout, to run, but I couldn't move. "Hello?" I whispered, my voice barely audible. The figures froze. It felt like time stopped. My heartbeat was loud in my ears. Then the same figures slowly lifted a hand and pointed at me. I felt my blood run cold. I was scared, but I couldn't take my eyes off them. How long did I stand there? Everything outside seemed blank when I finally turned away. I took a step back. There was no sign of them anywhere. My heart raced, and I felt dizzy. I locked the door behind me, but I couldn't shake what had just happened. Had I imagined it? I was still questioning it all weeks later. Millfield was supposed to be a quiet town, but that night, it felt like I stepped into a nightmare. I still look at that empty house next door, and I can't help but feel something isn't right. The next day, I woke up not feeling rested at all. My sleep had been shallow, filled with dreams I could hardly remember, but left me unease. I made coffee, hoping the familiar scent would calm my nerves. I glanced out the window at the empty house next door. It looked the same, quiet, still, and unnerving. I needed to shake off the previous night's events. I decided to take a walk. As I stepped outside, a crisp chill hit my face. The town felt deserted, like everyone had vanished overnight. I walked aimlessly, hoping I might run into someone who could give me answers about the strange happening. After a while, I reached the local diner. I stepped inside, and the bell above the door chimed. The place was mostly empty, aside from an old man sipping coffee in a corner booth. I approached the counter, and the waitress greeted me with a warm smile. "Morning. What can I get you?" she asked, her voice cheerful. I ordered a slice of pie and some coffee, then decided to gather my courage and ask about the empty house next door. "Do you know if anyone has moved into the old place next to me?" She paused, then shook her head. "Nope, still empty as far as I know. It's been that way for a while. Some say it's haunted." Her casual reference to ghosts made me uneasy, but I pressed on. "Haunted? Really? Do you mean people have seen something there?" "Just rumors. People say they hear noises at night, like laughter or children playing," she replied, glancing at the old man, who suddenly looked interested. "It's an old house, lots of history." The old man leaned in, his voice gravelly. "A family lived there a long time ago. They disappeared one night. No one knows what happened. Ever since then, people believe it's not just empty." A chill crept down my spine, and I felt suddenly exposed. It was like they knew something I didn't. I forced a laugh. "Well, I guess things like that happen in small towns, right?" The waitress smiled, but her eyes were serious. "Just stay safe, dear. Millfield has its secrets." I left feeling more unsettled than before. I had to know more. When I got home, I decided to look up the history of the house online. It didn't take long for me to find it. Articles talked about the vanishing family and how strange things had occurred there since. Then, as I scrolled, an image caught my eye. It was a group photo from a local event, and my heart dropped. Among the faces was someone I recognized, one of the shadowy figures from last night. My breath caught in my throat. Who were they? That's when I noticed something else. The date at the bottom of the picture was December 31st. My pulse quickened. Had they been there before? Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the back of the house. I jumped.
the sudden noise pulling me from my thoughts. Someone was in the house. I froze, my heart racing. The sound had come from the back of my house, just beyond the kitchen. I felt an instinctive urge to run, but curiosity rooted me to the spot. What was going on? With shaky hands, I crept towards the kitchen, my breath barely making a sound. The door to the back porch hung open a crack, the hinges creaking softly with the chill wind. I peered through the gap, the dim light barely illuminating the space beyond. "Hello?" I called out softly, my voice barely above a whisper.
No answer came, just the rustling of branches outside. Summoning courage, I pushed the door open further. I stepped onto the porch, heart hammering in my chest. The backyard was empty, but the air felt thick with something unnameable. I took a cautious step forward, scanning the area. That's when I caught sight of something near the edge of the property, a figure, just in the shadows of the trees. I squinted, trying to see more clearly. The silhouette stood still, unmoving. Fear gripped me as I called out again. "Is anyone there?" The figure began to turn. I caught a glimpse of a face, pale and gaunt, but just as quickly it vanished. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, swallowed by the dark branches. I stumbled backward, the porch creaking under my weight. "Okay, you're just imagining things," I told myself, though my heart disagreed. I stepped back inside, closing the door with a firm click. I needed to gather my thoughts. Something was wrong, but the details were slipping through my fingers. I grabbed my phone and searched for reports of disappearances in Millfield. My past searches had revealed little, but this time I struck gold. An article mentioned a teenager who vanished decades ago, along with the family from the house next door. It listed names and dates, a perfect match to the faces in the photo. One name stuck out, Emily Lawson. She was the girl in the photograph, and she had gone missing just weeks before New Year's Eve. My chest tightened. Was she the ghost the waitress mentioned? The same girl I saw last night? Suddenly, another noise echoed from the back, a soft thud, like something heavy had fallen to the ground. My pulse quickened as I remembered the chilling stories I'd read. I clenched my fists, determination kicking in. I couldn't just stand back and let fear control me. "Okay, I'm going to check it out," I said, the words almost sounding brave. I steeled myself and moved toward the source of the thud, adrenaline pushing me forward despite my rising panic. I reached for the doorknob, but my hand hesitated. I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever I'd find wouldn't be easy to face. Just then, a soft rustling came from behind me. I turned, the hair on the back of my neck standing tall. There, in the doorway, stood a figure cloaked in shadow, watching me intently. I felt my breath catch as I faced the unknown. The figure shifted, and my heart raced even faster, pounding in my ears. "Who are you?" I shouted, the words bursting from my lips in desperation. My voice wavered, betraying my fear. The cold air felt thicker somehow, wrapping around me like a vice. "Emily," came a soft, breathy whisper. It sent chills down my spine. I squinted, trying to make out the figure in the dim light. Shadows danced around them, but there was no mistaking the haunting familiarity of that name. "Emily," I echoed, my mind racing. Was this really her?
I took a hesitant step forward, but the figure recoiled slightly, vanishing into deeper shadows. "I need your help," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Confusion washed over me. Help? I didn't even know what was happening. Why? Why are you here? What happened to you? My questions tumbled out, mingled with a sense of urgency and fear. I felt a pull towards her, like I needed to understand. Suddenly, from behind the figure, came a loud crash. A branch snapped, falling to the ground with a thud that echoed in the stillness. I turned to look, instinctively, but as I did, the figure darted further into the darkness of the yard, disappearing once more. "Wait!" I called out, tearing my gaze from the shadows there, heart racing with a mix of fear and confusion. I wanted to follow her, but the thought of stepping into that darkness froze me. "What do you need?" No answer came, just an unsettling silence that hung in the air. I took a deep breath and made a choice. I was not going to let this moment slip away. I needed to confront whatever was happening. I stepped off the porch, instantly hit by the chill of the night. My breath fogged in the cold, and each step felt like wading through a thick fog. I scanned the area, looking for any sign of the girl. Then, from the corner of my eye, I caught another movement, a shadow flitting between the trees. It wasn't Emily this time, but something darker. Panic surged within me. "What are you?" I nearly shouted into the night. The shadow paused momentarily, and for a moment I thought I spotted the outline of a grinning face. No, I must have been seeing things. Whatever was out there wasn't friendly. "Emily, come back!" I yelled, but my voice felt small against the vast darkness.
I took a step closer, determined to uncover the truth. Suddenly, I heard laughter, high-pitched and eerie. It echoed through the trees, sending my heart racing all over again. I froze. The sound didn't feel right, like it had come from somewhere deep in the woods, hidden from view. Then everything went dark. The lights from the house flickered and died, and I found myself engulfed in darkness. My heart pounded in my chest. I fumbled for my phone, the only source of light I had, but panic surged as I realized it had slipped from my hands. "Someone is out there," I whispered, sensing a presence closing in around me. Trembling, I turned, trying to retrace my steps back to the house, but the shadows seemed alive, shifting and whispering around me. I could feel eyes on me, watching, waiting. Just as I was about to bolt, I stumbled across something cold and metallic. I knelt down, feeling the earth press against my palms. The object felt oddly familiar. The metal was smooth and had a shape I recognized. That's when I realized it was a locket, and I knew whose it was. My breath caught as I opened it, revealing a faded photo inside. The girl I saw earlier, but now, the person next to her, had a look of horror on their face.
I sucked in a breath, but it was too late. The shadows were closing in. The shadows felt like they were alive, swirling around me, dark tendrils creeping closer. My hands were shaking as I held the locket, the weight of it heavy in the air around me. I needed to get back inside the house. I just needed some light. That's when I heard it again, that eerie laughter, still echoing through the darkness, almost taunting me. "Emily," I muttered under my breath. Could she be in danger? The fear for her loomed larger than the darkness surrounding me. I pushed myself up from the ground, scanning the area for anything familiar. The branches of the trees loomed overhead, clutching at each other, blocking out any moonlight that could guide me. I took a breath, steadied my voice, and called out, "Emily, where are you?" There was silence for a moment, and then another rush of laughter burst from the woods, higher this time. "Help!" the voice echoed. It sounded just like her. Panic seized me. I had to find her. I moved cautiously, my pulse racing, feeling the locket clasp tightly in my fist. Each step felt like I was walking into a void. I tried to stay focused, but everything was disorienting in the pitch black. I just wanted to reach the porch light, to feel safe again. Then I saw movement again, a small flicker of light to my left. I squinted, hardly believing my eyes. It looked like a candle, flickering behind a tree. Was it Emily? I rushed toward it, branches snagging at my clothes as I pushed through the dark. The laughter faded, replaced by whispers. "Help me," a voice said, weak and trembling. Was it real or just trickery? I forced myself to keep moving, alarm bells ringing in my mind. When I finally reached the tree, I discovered the source of the light. A small, melted candle sat on the ground, its flame flickering weakly against the encroaching dark. No signs of Emily, just the candle. My heart sank. "Emily," I yelled again, desperation clawing at my throat. "Where are you?" A sound behind me made my blood run cold. It was a low growl filled with malice. I turned slowly, and my breath caught in my chest. The shadow I had seen earlier materialized before me, larger and more defined. It loomed, its form shifting and flickering like the shadows of the trees around it. I stumbled back, scrambling to find purchase on the uneven earth. "Stay away!" I shouted, my voice trembling. But the shadow only grinned wider, a sickening, hungry grin that sent terror racing through me. Just as a chill ran down my spine, I heard Emily's voice again, clearer this time. "Run!" The command cut through the fear, sharper and more urgent. I didn't think. I turned and raced back the way I came, away from the figure and toward the faint glow of my house. Branches whipped against my skin as I dashed blindly. I could almost hear the footsteps behind me, matching my pace. I needed to reach the safety of the light, to escape the growing dread that tightened around me like a noose. Finally, I spotted the porch light shining through the darkness. I crashed onto the steps, lunging for the door handle, but it wouldn't budge. "No, no!" I shouted, panicking as I pulled frantically at the door. The shadows were closing in, and I could feel that strange presence creeping closer. "Emily!" I cried one last time, hoping against hope, but no answer came. Finally, the door cracked open, and there stood my mother, wide-eyed and pale. "What's wrong?" she asked, looking past me into the night. And that's when the laughter started again, echoing behind me, haunting and relentless. I felt the darkness ripple and shift around me as I stumbled inside, heart racing.
knowing that this was only the beginning. I slammed the door behind me, chest heaving as I leaned against it. My mother's gaze darted around, her face etched with worry. "What happened, sweetheart?" Before I could answer, the laughter outside grew louder, more chaotic, and a chill swept through the entryway. I could still hear Emily's voice in my mind, pleading and urgent. "Run!" I shook my head, trying to clear the fear that churned in my stomach. "I thought I saw her. I heard her calling for help." My voice cracked, and I fought back tears. "Who? Emily?" She stepped closer, placing her hands on my shoulders. "You need to calm down. Where did you see her?" But a sudden creaking noise from the basement interrupted us. My heart dropped. I had forgotten. We'd left the cellar door open all week. I exchanged a quick, panicked glance with my mother. "Stay here," she insisted, moving toward the basement door. "Mom, no!" I shouted, but my words were lost. She was already reaching for the handle. In that moment, something primal urged me to grab her arm, to pull her back. "Please don't," I begged, but the shadows behind her began to twist ominously, creeping toward us. The laughter echoed louder. "Emily could be hurt," she countered, determination lining her features. "You don't understand," I cried, terror spilling out. "It's not her, it's—" The basement door swung open with a wrenching groan. I barely caught a glimpse of something dark shifting inside before my mother stepped over the threshold. A cold breeze rushed past me, making every hair stand on end. "Mom!" I screamed, lunging after her. But as I entered, she was gone. The basement was swallowed in darkness, a void that seemed to consume all sound. "Mom!" my voice echoed back, bouncing off the stone walls. Panic surged through me as I fumbled for the light switch, both hands trembling. I flipped the switch multiple times, but got nothing, no flicker, no light. I raced down the stairs, desperate to find her, feeling my way along the wall. "Mom, where are you?" Then I noticed something glimmering on the floor, a small silver ring. I recognized it immediately. It was my mother's.
A surge of panic pushed me to move faster, but just as I reached it, another sound echoed through the darkness. It was the same low growl from earlier, deeper now, more menacing. "Get out!" a voice hissed from the shadows. I froze, eyes wide, heart pounding. I couldn't make out the figure, but I could feel the weight of its gaze on me. Terror clawed at my throat, and instinct took over. I sprinted back up the stairs, taking them two at a time, bursting through the door and slamming it shut behind me. I leaned against it, gasping for breath. The laughter had returned, a twisted chorus of delight blending with the growling. And then I noticed something, a shadow moving across the far wall, bending and stretching unnaturally. It didn't belong to me or the hall light. It was something else. I stepped back, suddenly aware that I was no longer alone. Someone or something was in the house with me. My pulse quickened as adrenaline kicked in. I had to find my mother, but was she even in there anymore? Before I could formulate a plan, the basement door creaked open again behind me. I turned slowly, dread pooling in my stomach. Standing in the doorway was a figure, obscured in shadows. My voice caught as I tried to speak. "Mom?" "No," it whispered, a chilling smile stretching across its face. "But you can join us." That's when I knew I was trapped. My heart raced as I stared at the figure in the doorway. The laughter outside grew louder, wrapping around me like a sinister embrace. I took a step back, my mind screaming for me to move, to run, but my legs felt stuck in place. The figure stepped forward, the shadows twisting about it like smoke. It wasn't my mother. That much was clear. The voice was wrong, too smooth, dripping with something I couldn't put my finger on. "Join us." I swallowed hard and forced myself to breathe. There had to be a way out. I couldn't let this thing trap me. I glanced over my shoulder toward the hallway, weighing my options. "Where's my mom?" I demanded, trying to sound braver than I felt. The thing chuckled softly. "Oh, she's close by. Very close." Its eyes glinted in the dark, and I felt another wave of panic crash over me. "Let her go. You can't have her," I shouted, my voice trembling. It tilted its head, the twisted smile still plastered across its face. "Why not? She's with us now. So many have joined on this night. It's a special night, after all." Before I could reply, the laughter outside erupted again, more chaotic and dissonant, as if a gathering of voices was celebrating something horrific. Those voices echoed in my mind, drawing me toward the basement door as if it had a magnetic pull. I shook my head violently, trying to resist. Then I remembered Emily. She might be in danger. I turned back to the figure, desperation flooding my heart. Where is Emily? A flicker of recognition shimmered in its eyes. Ah, Emily. Poor thing. She thought she could escape. My breath caught at the implication.
"What did you do to her?" The figure leaned closer, and I caught an unsettling scent, a mix of damp earth and rotting leaves.
You'll see soon enough. The festivities are just beginning. In that moment, I realized I had to act fast. I couldn't let it convince me that all was lost. I took a deep breath and dashed past the figure, sprinting down the hallway toward the front door. I slammed into it, pulling on the handle, but it didn't budge. My eyes darted around, searching for another way. Suddenly, the laughter surged again, a cacophony that vibrated through the walls. I could feel it in my bones. It was almost as if the house itself was alive and laughing at my fear. The basement door banged shut, trapping whatever darkness was inside again, but I could sense that it was still there, lurking. Just then, I noticed a small window off to my left. It was slightly ajar, almost inviting. I rushed over, gripping the frame tight as I pushed with all my strength. It gave way, and I squeezed through, scraping my arms on the rough edges. As I landed outside, the frigid air bit into my skin. I could hear the muffled laughter growing faint inside the house. Just when I thought I was free, I heard a voice whispering my name, soft and familiar. "Come back." I froze, looking back toward the house. Even with the creeping dread pooling in my stomach, I couldn't shake the urge to find my mother. But as I glanced back, a chilling realization crept in. Something was watching from the shadows of the doorway, waiting for me to make my choice. I took a step backward, my heart racing with the weight of my decision. I stumbled back, fear clawing at my insides. The laughter from within the house sent a chill through me, and the urge to flee was strong. But the soft whisper of my name, almost tender in tone, drew me in like a moth to a flame. I pushed against it, shaking my head, trying to drown it out. "Mom!" I called, my voice cracking. "Where are you?" All that greeted me was silence. The only sounds were the rustling leaves and the distant echo of laughter that had faded into the night. My breath was visible in the chilling air, and I felt utterly alone. I glanced back at the house, nervously searching the shadows. The figure stood there, unmoving, its eyes glinting like shards of glass. "You can't keep me from her," I yelled, though doubt seeped into my voice. Then something unsettling shifted in the silence. I heard a soft shuffling sound, followed by a low, gurgling laugh that chilled me to the core. Looking around, I didn't see anyone, but the feeling of being watched was overwhelming. "Stop it," I whispered to myself. I had to focus. If there was a chance my mom was in danger, I couldn't let fear steal my resolve. Just then, I noticed something on the ground by the bushes. A thread of fabric fluttered in the light of the half-moon. I knelt down, heart pounding, and recognized it immediately.
It was part of my mother's favorite scarf, the one she always wore on cold nights. I scooped it up, clutching it tight. If she had lost this, she had to be nearby. The whispering grew louder, beckoning me back toward the house. As I stood, the laughter inside turned to a roar. It felt like a wave crashing over me, trying to pull me in. I took a deep breath and started moving away from the house, determined to find help. As I dashed toward the street, I spotted the old willow tree, the one Emily and I used to play under. I sprinted toward it, the branches swaying gently, as if they held secrets I needed to unlock. Just as I reached the tree, the laughter outside burst forth in a new frenzy. It sounded more sinister, more chaotic, and I turned back to look. The figure was gone. Panic surged through me. Had it gone after my mother? I felt ice grip my spine and took off toward the street, but then a shadow flickered nearby. I paused, squinting into the darkness. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice wavering. Then everything shifted. The whisper turned into wild, dissonant voices, swirling around me, pulling me back. "Come join us," they chanted. My heart raced as I turned, ready to bolt. But before I could move, a hand grabbed my shoulder, hard enough to hold me. I spun around, ready to fight. That's when I saw it. A familiar face, pale and drawn, eyes wide with fear. It was Emily. "Run! They're coming!" she yelled, and the urgency in her voice sent adrenaline coursing through my veins. As I looked back to see if the figure had followed, a shroud of darkness surrounded the house, creeping out towards us. "Emily, what did you see?" I gasped. But before she could answer, the laughter surged again, louder now, and I knew we didn't have much time. The night was about to reclaim us. Without waiting for her reply, I grabbed Emily's wrist and pulled her away from the tree. The laughter echoed behind us, sharp and jagged, like glass breaking in the dark. "Where do we tow?" I panted, fear spilling out with every breath. "Not back to the house. It's not safe there." She glanced over her shoulder, her face a mask of terror. "We have to get to town. We can find help." Nodding, I started to run,
My feet pounded against the pavement as we sprinted down the street, the chill in the air biting at my skin. The laughter transformed again, twisting into shrill cries that chased after us, taunting us with every step. I couldn't tell if it was the wind or something else, but I felt it pressing on me like a heavy hand on my back. "Did you see anyone? Any figures?" I asked, trying to keep the panic out of my voice. Emily shook her head, breathless. "No one. It was just them," whispering, coming out of the walls. Her voice cracked. "It felt alive, Tessa, like the dark was watching and waiting." The streetlights flickered as we ran, dimming and brightening like an unreliable heartbeat. I tried to steady my thoughts, but dread clawed at me.
"We're almost there," I urged, though I wasn't sure where there was. The town felt so far away, swallowed by the night and the malevolence swirling behind us. Then, as if testing our resolve, the laughter exploded again, now sharp and unsettlingly close. I dared a glance back and saw two dark shapes slip out from the shadows of the house. Too fluid, too unnatural. My heart lurched. They were following us. "Faster!" I shouted, pushing myself harder. I didn't care if I stumbled. I just needed to get us away from whatever was pursuing us. As we neared the town square, an odd light flickered in the distance. It was the old clock tower, glowing faintly, its face frozen in the dead of night. Somehow it felt like a beacon, a promise of safety. I gripped Emily's arm tighter. "We need to get there." The laughter reached a fever pitch, defiant and chaotic. Hands reached out from the shadows, wrapping around our ankles as we sprinted past. I felt one grip me, cold and clammy, but I shook it off and surged forward. Each step felt like it pulled me deeper into a nightmare. Just when I thought we were close, the ground beneath us shifted unexpectedly, a patch of ice hidden in the darkness. We both went down hard, knees hitting the ground with a painful scrape. "Go!" Emily screamed, panic in her voice, as she shoved me forward. Before I could fully recover, madness erupted just behind us. The shadows morphed, spilling into the street, and the laughter crescendoed into a deafening roar. I scrambled to my feet, my breathing frantic as I turned back to help Emily. But something changed behind her, a dark shape, more defined and sinister, blocking the way. "Emily!" I cried, but my voice felt muted by the chaos. I had to make a choice. Stay and fight, or run. I didn't wait to decide. I darted toward the light of the square. If I could just reach the clock tower. If I could just... Then everything went dark. The laughter subsided into a whisper that curled around my mind, spiraling down. I stumbled, the world tilting dangerously, just as I heard the softest voice call my name. I turned, desperate. "Emily!" But there was no answer. My heart hammered in my chest as I felt the shadows close in around me. As I stumbled forward, my heart raced with panic. The darkness pressed in, alive with whispers and laughter that seemed almost human, yet twisted and mocking. I fought against the wave of despair washing over me, pushing myself toward the flickering light of the clock tower. It felt like my only hope. "Emily!" I shouted, desperation clawing at my throat. Yet the shadows thrummed, covering the sound of her voice like a heavy blanket. I couldn't tell if she was behind me or swallowed by the depths of the encroaching darkness.
I turned to look back, half expecting to see the dark figures inching closer, but the square was bathed in a strange tranquility that contrasted sharply with the chaos I had just escaped. "Go inside," I urged the empty square. The shadows lingered at the edge of the light, hesitant like predators lurking just out of reach. I took a deep breath and dashed toward the door, praying it wasn't locked. The handle turned under my grip, and the door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit hallway inside. I rushed in and slammed the door behind me, leaning against it, trying to catch my breath. For a moment, silence enveloped me, interrupted only by the distant ticking of a clock echoing down the hall. I stood there, heart racing, listening for any signs of pursuit, but the laughter was muffled now, almost as if it had never existed. I turned to glance down the darkness of the hall, wondering if Emily would follow. Should I go back? A pang of guilt pierced my chest, but I couldn't risk it. Just then I heard it, a soft rustling coming from the other end of the hallway. My pulse quickened as I took a step closer. "Emily?" Out of the shadows stepped a figure, their outline familiar yet obscured by the dim light. It wasn't just the shadows anymore. It was filled with an unsettling amalgam of shapes and textures, a living tapestry of the night. As it stepped closer, I saw the faint silhouette take on a face that flickered like a candle in the wind. "I came to warn you," she said, her voice a whisper that echoed with urgency.
"Emily?" I gasped, hope surging through me like a tide. But as she stepped into the light, I stumbled back, the warmth vanishing as I recognized her expression. "It's not safe," she murmured, glancing nervously over her shoulder. "They'll follow you. They want you to join us, join the others." Confusion coursed through me. "The others? What do you mean? Where's my mom?" But before she could reply, the air between us shifted, heavy with dread, as the shadows, now emboldened, slithered under the door. Emily's eyes widened in terror. "We have to go." As she reached for me, the laughter outside rose to a cacophonous echo, reverberating through the walls until it felt like the very building was shaking. I clenched my fists, feeling the locket in my pocket, a weight bearing witness to the plight of more than just a few people. "Emily, wait." Before I could take another step, the figure suddenly flickered and shifted, her face morphing grotesquely into a blend of familiar features, faces from the photograph I'd seen days ago, captured in that ill-fated moment. "They need more," she hissed, darkness curling around her like smoke. In that moment, I understood. I had been lured here, pulled from my reality into this twisted game of shadows that thrived on fear and loss, and now I was on a precipice, standing between the normal world and this terrifying threshold. With adrenaline surging through my veins, a single thought propelled me forward.
"No!" I shouted, bracing myself against the encroaching dark. I turned toward the door, expecting the weight of shadows to press against me, to trap me in. I pushed through, but something struck me. Whatever veil had held Emily disappeared, and she turned frantically, lost in the maze of darkness. "Emily!" I screamed, redirecting my every ounce of energy to the door. The pounding laughter threatened to break into the room, intent on dragging us both away. And then I was through, out into the night again, the biting chill hitting my skin as I stumbled away from the light of town. There, to my left, the woods stretched ominously. "Help!" I turned to see Emily still trapped at the threshold, shadows coiling around her. Somehow it felt like she was holding the ugly truth of Millfield in her grip, caught between two worlds. "Join us!" The figure in the darkness beckoned again. "It's simple, just let go." I shook my head, torn between saving the one person I thought could help, the one who had just warned me, and the beckoning shadows that promised an end to the fear. "Please, Emily, fight it!" I called desperately, but the increasingly frenetic shadows sang their wicked lullaby, and my heart ached. The night held so many secrets, but as I turned to run, tears blurred my vision. I sprinted forward, the question haunting me. Was she free, or was she one of them now? I raced towards freedom, but somewhere deep down, I knew this night wasn't done with me yet. It left a chilling sense of uncertainty, a fragmented truth lingering as I escaped from Millfield, but with heavy questions and a heart that would never fully settle again. Part of me wished I could take every answer, every shadow and scream, but maybe that was the price of survival. I glanced back one last time at the flickers of light against the dark, realizing it was all still there, waiting for its next whisper.